Joined by Democratic Congressman Adam Smith of Washington. He is the top Democrat on the House Armed Services Committee. Congressman Smith, always good to see you. Several outlets are now reporting that the Iranian war is draining America's stockpile of critical weapons. What effect is this war having on our national security and the security of our allies, particularly those in the Pacific?
Yeah, it is weakening us, and the cost has already been very high and continues to go up as we move forward. And your report really makes it clear that President Trump has no idea how to get out of this war. I mean, the costs, gosh, certainly we've already lost 13 service members' lives, hundreds more wounded, thousands of civilians have been killed. Middle East has been dropped into a chaotic conflict. Certainly, we've got our conflict with Iran, trying to get the Strait of Hormuz back open as it was before this war started. The Israel-Lebanon war has exploded. There is now a conflict going on between the Shia militias in Iraq and Kurdistan. So, and the global economy, as you point out, has been, the costs are enormous. So in terms of munitions, yes, we're down. Obviously, we've been using them, so we are less able to meet our national security objectives throughout the globe. But another big weakness here is how the rest of the world looks at us. We are losing more and more partners and allies. Just about every country in the world right now is trying to find some way to be less dependent upon the U.S. And there's a lot of reasons for that. Trump's constant insults, stumbling into this war without consulting anybody. So, yes, we are without question weaker as a nation now than when this war started.
Congressman Smith, you just talked about stumbling into this war without consulting anyone. There is a very important marker of 60 days that is established under the War Powers Resolution of 1973 that requires the president to seek congressional approval for use of force for anything that goes past that 60-day mark. We are getting close to that 60-day mark with respect to this conflict. If it is likely to go past it, which it seems like it will Congress take action?
Yeah. Well, first of all, 60 days or no 60 days, I've been voting to stop this war from the moment it started. Democrats in the House and the Senate have been putting up war powers resolutions to stop the president from going forward with this war without congressional approval. We will continue to do that. I doubt seriously the president will pay attention to that 60-day limit, and the War Powers Act may finally be challenged in court. But look, the most important thing here is that there is no military solution to this. There's not another 100,000, 5,000 targets that we can bomb that are going to force Iran to capitulate. We have got to negotiate. And in addition to just the bad idea of getting into the war, the negotiating team that they're using, Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner, while sidelining all of our experienced diplomats and while not working with the other countries in the world, UK and France have pulled together some 44 countries to try to negotiate with Iran and the other Gulf states to end this war. And we're going it alone with, as I like to say, two real estate guys from New Jersey. We got to get serious about negotiations. That's the only way to get out of this conflict.
Really quickly, there are two things that you said in that answer, Congressman Smith, that I have to ask you about. The first of which is you mentioned the notion of fighting this in court. Have you or your Democratic colleagues thought or begun to prepare for what that fight could look like if we go past the 60-day marker?
Yeah, certainly. Armed Services doesn't have direct jurisdiction over this. That's the Foreign Affairs Committee. But they are working on that. And look, yeah, it's an interesting thing about the War Powers Resolution. No president since it was passed has acknowledged its constitutionality, but it's never been challenged. I'm sorry, I don't know that for sure. I know it's never been decisively figured out. But yes, I think that would have to be a next step, is to try to get the courts to enforce the War Powers Resolution.
And you mentioned Jared Kushner, who has been identified as part of a so-called special envoy for peace for these negotiations. He's also been actively doing business with Gulf nations. It certainly appears as though there may be a question of a conflict of interest. But what do you make of his involvement as part of these talks?
Yeah, I mean, the conflict of interest is a major problem, and the massive levels of corruption within the Trump administration, how he has enriched himself and his family as president, is an ongoing, incredible scandal. And yes, it adds to the problem. But again, my biggest concern is, what does Jared Kushner know about negotiating a nuclear agreement? virtually nothing. So I think it's a lack of competence. And yes, the conflict of interest only makes that worse. But again, the president is simply not taking the negotiations here as seriously as he needs to. Now, don't get me wrong, even if he did, we've dug ourselves a deep hole on this. The Iranian hardliners are dug in. They didn't want to talk to us, much less, agree to anything. We got a lot of work to do. I don't believe that Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner have the experience and the capability of even beginning to get that work done.
Congressman, we've been talking a lot about what's happening in Washington, but there's an actual impact that is affecting Americans. And the latest Reuters and Ipsos poll shows that the economy is a top issue for voters across the country. 82% agreed with the statement that inflation is a big concern for them, and 77% also agreed with the statement that fuel prices are a big concern. How do you and your colleagues plan to address this, particularly with everything that we are talking about going on in Iran?
Well, there's two parts to this. First of all, I think we have to understand what I heard someone refer to as that this is the cost of Trump. Look, the economies are difficult to manage. Presidents always take too much credit for what works and get too much blame for what doesn't. But if you were coming into office as Donald Trump and you said, what policies can I adapt to make it most likely the prices would go up? You couldn't do better than Trump. All the tariffs that he slapped on, the tax that has driven up the cost of goods, the war in the Middle East, obviously, his attack on immigration so that workers are hard to find. His policies are costing us dearly in the economy. What should we do about it? Number one, settle the situation in the Middle East. Negotiate the best peace process you possibly can. Number two, actually go after the cost drivers that we have. Get rid of the tariffs, which are a tax on everything that is driving up prices, and then look at the specific sectors that are going up, health and energy. Figure out, get something to get costs under control in healthcare. That needs to be a focus. President Trump has paid no attention to it whatsoever. And then energy. I was actually talking with Costco yesterday about stores that they open up, and they said one of their big limitations on opening up stores in America is they have places they don't have access to energy. They got to generate their own. Meanwhile, Trump is canceling wind and solar projects, canceling any project that isn't fossil fuel based. So get after energy, get after healthcare, get the tariffs down, end the war in the Middle East. And that can begin, I think, to help move us towards a better economy. Oh, and stop terrorizing all of the immigrants so that we actually have the workers we need. I mean, it's not terribly complicated, and Trump's going in the wrong direction on every single one of those policies.
Direct and always to the point, Washington Congressman Adam Smith, thank you for being a straight shooter and joining us to get this hour of Velshi started. And coming up, the itinerary for Pope Leo's 11-day trip through Africa did not